because you're going to want to have someone to be like, I know, right? Like that. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm doing here. I'm the I know right friend right now. Yeah.
All right. Let me see if my friends are on. Oh, hi live.
Hey, hi everybody. We're live now. We'd like to welcome you to ʻAha Wahine Kūhinapapa. This is a webinar series we do monthly celebrating intergenerational mana of Wahine. We'd like to thank all of our sponsors, which include E Kolumea Nui, Hawaii People's Fund, Papa Ololokahi, OEVTV, Kukahi, Roots and Ho'oluaina, and University of Hawaii. So we are so excited for our webinar tonight. We are doing this webinar in preparation for Haumea Chronicles. So we want you all to mark your calendars down because on March 25th and 26th, or is it 26th and 27th? Anyway, the Sunday and Monday, we are doing Haumea Chronicles. Now, the Sunday is just for Halepea. This is only for Wahine. So if any time in your life you would have gone to the Halepea, then you are welcome to come and join us on that day. Monday, the performance will be for the Kauhale. Everybody can come. We welcome everybody to come. Performances will be at 2 o'clock, both on Sunday and Monday. They will run for about 2 hours. And then afterwards, we will have some classrooms on the side where people can go to have deeper conversations, to have joy and laughter. Or if there's something that maybe they were triggered in when they heard some of the things during Haumea Chronicles, then we'll also have a room for them too. And so please mark your calendars. Tickets will be going on sale in a day or two. We are asking for a $20 donation per ticket, but it will be up to you on what you want to do. So you'll have to go in for every single ticket that you buy. You can't hit like 5 or 6 tickets. And then, but that'll come up on Eventbrite pretty soon and we'll be posting that. We also want you to visit our ʻAha Wahine Instagram post. It's Mahina Hua Olelo, and Napua has been doing an amazing job in posting words Hua Olelo that have to do with Wahine health, with Wahine sexuality, with Wahine Kino. And so please go on and visit that. We invite all of you to enjoy the posts that have been going on. So getting to our webinar tonight, the whole Nene, Wahine Image, Kino Positivity. We're going to be joined by Puni Jackson Kameha, ililani Waiau, and Aukahi Austin. Now, these are 3 amazing women that do amazing work in the community. But for tonight, we just want you to think about them as your friends, your sisters, your moms, your aunties, sitting around a table having a conversation about what it's like to be a Wahine. What are the things we need to talk about? And then we'll just have fun. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Aukahi. Mahalo, everybody.
Aloha kako, yay! Here we go. ʻAha Wahine in session. Yes, we are calling the Haumea Chronicles post conversations. We're going to call that basking in the afterglow, everybody. So let's think about that. That's the fun part, is because we hope you sit there and you just take it all in. You build pilina and connection with the wonderful performance artists that are going to be there to share. But we know that right after that happens, you want to share and connect too. And so we just wanted to have spaces and places for you to all connect. So this conversation, we hope, gets you ready and revved and excited on the momentum heading toward March. We're super stoked to be here. I am really just here as your friendly neighborhood tour guide for this conversation. I was so fortunate to sit at a table at the Roots Cafe with these wonderful women a few weeks ago, and I dared them into the water to take the lead and convene the Wahine to have another of our very potent and wonderful conversations about ourselves. And what I basically said to them is, hey, can you guys talk about can you talk about the things that you thought everybody knew, but you found out later people don't know about Wahine-ness, about sexuality, about relationships, about having a baby, whatever. What are the things that you figured out later that you knew, but other people didn't know? And I think that was a call to action maybe on this moment. And then I also said, okay, and then if we're going to go there, you know, it has to have a fabulous title. And so I think that's how I got Money Girl into the conversation about, okay, what do we need to tell everybody today? What we got to go there. Let's talk to people about this. And so this evening, we are going to spend time talking about the shape of a woman. We're going to talk about how you bring that to yourself, how you radiate the joy and the wonder of that shape of who you are, and what are some ways to arrive at that wonderful place where your body and your soul are lined up and doing the things it was meant to do. And so with that, I'm going to toss that to the two of you to explain, why are we talking about geese tonight, maybe, and the whole Nene, and get us going. Can we?
We can. Aloha kako. Oh, okay. I think the best way to start would be if we did a virtual ching ching cheering. So
cheers.
If you have a ʻaha, or, you know, I don't know, your water bottle, whatever you got, grab something and we're going to cheers. And the first cheer is going to be for Haumea. Ready? Kako, eo Haumea, 3, 2, 1. Eo Haumea. Ai, aloha kako. Mahalo. Yeah, so you know what? I know the title of this hui, the whole Nene, right? Our hui ana together, stemmed from mahalo aukahi for taking that, because you're right, you did the some voluntold pushing to get us to get us here. But yeah,
you are among my favorite teas to sit around a table and like laugh and learn and go there together.
Oh, same. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Mahalo, like, ditto. Yeah, so I was celebrating one of my titas, celebrating her lahanau a while ago, early January, and we were celebrating with a whole bunch of buttery nipple shots, and we were probably on the 3rd round, and we started, you know, making little whole emotions like, ooh, buttery nipple, and then we started talking about like, yeah, ooh, I'm getting a little bit here, and it's a little bit more than just my nipple area, wow. And then we started having, we don't know why, we started going into all these other conversations in the middle of a karaoke bar, celebrating someone's lahanau. But yeah, it was good fun. And then the very next day, we had a halavai at Roots Cafe, and we're kind of doing some discussion on upcoming ʻAha Wahine kind of kuleana. And Okahi convinced us and volunteered us to take a dip in the kuleana ʻAha Wahine webinar and kuka vala'au. And so
give them a taste of what it's like to sit at a table with us.
I tell you, yeah, because you know, apparently not everybody is, or maybe you are, maybe you have your own hui of titas and aunties and cousins that you hang out with, and you love to have the what's that, the roller coaster kind vala'au sessions. Yeah, really all kind emotions and all kind topics, because you feel safe, because you feel brave, yeah, and because you a little bit niele too. So yeah, this is the kind of Lina Poi Poi vala'au session we hope to have. And then I'm gonna toss it to Puni, if Puni has any mana'o on the whole Nene and the inoa of this,
right? Because the tip of the iceberg, so to speak, or you know.
Well, the buttery nipple is sort of the tip of the nipple. And that whole conversation was so hilarious to me. Lani girl, you're so funny. And, you know, talking about why are we going to only deal with the nipple? We need the whole Nene. We need like actually, you know, alone for this whole area. You know, what am I going to do with just only this? This is not doing enough. And actually, you know, in my world, you have to earn this. You have to earn this by dealing with all of this. And so that's the conversation that I think is, of course, it's fun. And I'm so grateful. Thank you, okay, for the most beautiful opening and introduction, and for daring us into the water. I can be a little shy. And so I'm grateful for being included. But the concept is really important, you know, like not just that it's so funny, and not just that we're connecting to our ohana and our sisters and we're having these conversations, but also that like, oh, let's have this conversation a little bit more. Let's push a little bit further, because I think it's really healthy. It's really valuable for our sisters and our lahui to celebrate how we do together, to celebrate sitting together and telling the stories that maybe they're not always the perfect stories for every audience, but they're definitely the right stories for your sisters. Yeah. So thank you for the invitation. Mahalo so much.
I love it. So there we are. We're talking about the whole Nene, not just one little part. And in fact, we weren't going to even limit ourselves to one body part. And so Lani started sharing with people that, you know, that we put out a little teaser that was going to happen. And you got a little bit of feedback about that. You got some questions.
Yeah. Some one of the was funny. So after the last ʻAha Wahine Kūhinapapa webinar, and then our flyer was showed, and then I immediately got some text messages and like, wait, Tita, are you talking about Nene Goose? Like, what is happening? And so like it was kind of all over the place.
Conservation.
Yeah, and then I felt like, is my tea doubting my ability to talk about the Nene Goose? I have some knowledge. I know some stuff, okay?
Like, I mean, technically I work in conservation. I guess I could talk about Nene Goose if I want.
Well, then, you know me, it's like, I'm like, oh, and the Nene is a metaphor about things that are precious. But, you know, that honk, it's not always pretty. You know, I was going to go there with my metaphor about Nene. I was ready. And then I thought, or we could just, you know, anchor back.
Right.
We could anchor back into our own Kino and explain that we meant we're going to talk about, you know, the whole deal. We're not going to sort of hold back and only do the tip of the iceberg, as it were. We're gonna go through the whole thing, because it turns out that our bodies, if we're going to even just talk about our bodies, how we feel about them, how we feel in our skin, it's not as simple as, well, I got a cute outfit on today, I'm banging today, right? It's a little more, it's more than that. There's layers. There's a whole thing behind the tip. Okay, so please take us there.
Yeah, you know, I mean, so we started, or I'm always feel like I'm having all these conversations, especially more recently. So I just recently celebrated my 50th birthday. Can I get a cheering? So I just celebrated my 50th birthday in January. Oh, cheers. I got to cheers to the peeps that are actually at my table.
To the peanut gallery. Mahalo.
I got a cheers delivered to me too.
I saw that. That's love in action.
Right. Love.
Yes, the delivery. She was lovely. Yeah. So celebrated my 50th birthday, and I was gonna just like ignore, deny, kind of just hide, you know.
Move it right along.
You always got, so you have like some titas who are like, okay, yeah, if that's okay, down low, we're not doing anything, we're just okay. Yeah. And then you got like some titas who are like, what? No, we have to own this. We have to, you know, and a little bit of nuku and a little bit of play. And so just kind of continuing to have those conversations about, and then started thinking about, okay, well, how do I celebrate? But also, how do I start having that conversation with some of the titas who were like, but why? Because you usually want to celebrate, and you want to bring those kinds of bring people together. And so I thought, okay, well, why do I not want to, or why is there a part of me that doesn't want to do that? And I been realizing that, like, because you know, things are changing in my Kino, and I don't really understand all of it, what all is going on. And and then we started having some real like scholarly academic conversation about like how we do a lot of stuff to help our titas and help our aunties and our kaikaina, how we transition and prepare wahine for big transitions in their life, like birthing, right? How we do that with our opio wahine as they transition from kaika to wahine. And then, but I don't know necessarily that I've had those opportunities as I'm transitioning, right, at late 40s into a 50-year-old wahine, and all the new changes that are happening. I feel like I'm a teenager all over again. I'm hot all the time. Things are happening. I don't understand it. I'm a little bit more sweaty than I used to be. And I just, you know, and so there's a transition that my Kino is going through. And how do I make space for all of that and not fight it? Right. Because part of me was just like, this is not the norm. I gotta, and then maybe it's about finding a new norm.
Mhm.
And then being open to having those conversations, because I really don't know what's going on. So, and I don't know necessarily that I like all the answers that my Koka at a unnamed, undisclosed Haukapila has been advising me, like that can't be like the only options, right? Like there's other things I can do to kind of help myself feel comfortable with the changes and be makoko and prepare myself mentally, but also just spiritually and those kinds of things. So Kalamai, I'm not trying to be a downer, but anyway, yeah. So body positivity and just how do we own the changes to, yeah. No.
I love what you brought up, Lenny girl. I recently was talking to an unnamed Kumuhula, an unnamed T, but who has helped so many wahine in that those many transitions, and our kupuna had uniki for every, and puka, and there's very celebrated transitions. But here, this transition is, it's a totally different transition. And we live in this sort of occupied social media space where is it the social media space of our occupied nation? I'm not really sure how to phrase it, where only if your body looks like you're 16 years old is that a celebrated body. And I just love this. I was so grateful for this invitation to talk about Kino positivity, because the shape and the curves of our body as we change is important. And then this particular friend was like, how come nobody told me about this transition that I'm going through? How come nobody's talking about like how I feel and how, it's not just physical, and it's not just that it's actually this sort of emotional thing that's transitioning. And for myself, I'm like, what, am I 13 again? Like, what's happening? Why? What? I don't know that I have my period again. Like, why is this surprising? I'm almost 50, and for me, it's so important to have sisters to be able to say, that's totally normal.
You're
and
good.
I support you. And yes, I'm processing things that I decided not to process for the last 35 years.
Turns out I left a few things in the to-do pile, and maybe now we got to go through it.
Oops.
Right. Or I'm navigating using the knowledge I learned in my Teen Health Today and Tomorrow class when I was a teenager. Like that, I don't recall getting like the updated version. Like
right. We need the new edition. Well, and that idea that we're so right, there are cultural constructs for us, right? We're lilo I Haumea at this moment, right? That's what's happening. There's one, and so, but when you go like, I didn't know how to feel, I didn't know what to think, but I can observe my Kino responding to change. I can see my body is readying for something else. What's my brain doing? What's my soul doing? What are my feelings doing? I feel like this is the same age where we're also like a little bit less confused about ourselves. Hopefully, because we've been doing that inventory. We've got work to do, and now we're a little braver to do it.
Right.
Because we've been through a few things, right? In your journey, you've lived through some stuff. You've proved to yourself a few times over that you can handle things. And so we go, okay, so is this the body? Is my body encouraging me to change? Is it externally reflecting changes that I need to be doing? It's readying me for something different. And what is that? And I don't know. I think it's all very dynamic like that. I don't know.
And for me, it's also all very Haumea. There's, I was taught that, you hana makake Kino for one season. And then in this season, we hana makalolo. And I love in that construct, or in that this talking, this conversing, this connecting through olelo, especially with those who help our minds to be fertile. That's where the hanau is coming from now. Now I'm ready to birth nations. And now I'm ready.
Makalolo. Thank you for that. Wow.
Yeah, because this, the shape of this body is ready. I always feel energetically like, oh, I'm much more, heavy on the bottom. I'm not gonna topple as easy.
I'm grounded.
when I'm grounded all the time. I'm so grounded, I float, you know?
Oh, girl, hella buoyant. But in flood, famine, or freezing, skinny people go first. Sorry.
and all the ways that there's that maturity and that wisdom and those journeys kind of prepare us to be those birthers of what our lahui need and be those birthers of what our generations need. And I'm not just talking about the human birthing, I'm talking about all of the resources, all of the structures, all of the networks, education and health and aina and policy. Our generation is like, this is what happens for Hanau Kalolo, that's our kuleana. And yet I have this bizarre self-consciousness that I don't look like I'm 16 anymore. Thank God I don't think like I'm 16. And I always think, I have this story that my young one of my children, I have many children, one of my children, we were standing in line and trying to do something and I couldn't find my eyeglasses and we're trying to do so. And I was like lamenting my mind, lamenting this like change, that shift. Mm-hmm. And he says, Mom, would you trade how your mind has changed? Would you trade for what you lost for what you've gained? And I'm like, oh no, never, ever. I would never change. I would never trade my intuition for remembering some password. Oh, I'm sorry. My password child is on the Zoom. But the intuition is serving her well. So we're okay. But she says, hi, Mom. But I share this with someone, just a stranger, a Wahine, who was, maybe a little older than me. I'm like, oh, you know what my son said? And she wept. This is just a stranger on the street. She wept thinking about how much she loved her mind. And I thought that's a really nice opening into like appreciating myself differently and welcoming myself differently. And I want that same love and acceptance for the shape of me, that it took my son to help me to see that, or it takes my children to help me to see that. But I think that that's also the same for, those that see my shape. My partner sees my shape as the most beautiful thing. And sometimes I don't believe him. But when I can reach that moment of like, yeah, I feel so loved, that the shape of my mind, the same way I might celebrate it, I can celebrate this new and different shape of my body.
My brain wants to jump us to so many places. Part of me wants us to start talking about what our bodies can do, right? And kind of get into that. And then the other part of me goes, I wish 13-year-old me and 15-year-old me and 24-year-old me knew these things too. So I guess I'm wondering, are we going to jump to the arc of the other ages and stages of what our bodies have been? Or should we start talking about what it can do and what that has to do with how we accept and love her? I wonder. Thoughts? Where are we jumping, my lovies?
I don't know. I was over here just trying to like fake sketch while Puni is talking, because I feel like I know it's the filter, but I'm like, bruh, she's rocking this aura right now. She's talking about her Kino. She's talking about love and acceptance, and then you said something really interesting, Puni, and you said like, I don't know if I believe him, right? And then so how do we push through that, right? How do we push through and allow ourselves to suspend belief?
I want to ask you a question. How old were you, if you don't mind disclosing, and if you can't, that's okay, when you started getting less nails at taking a compliment? Just less nails. Anybody? Or either of you very good at it? Just slightly less nails when someone goes, you're fabulous. How long did it take for you to find a way to receive that?
Mm-hmm.
And did it matter what kind of fabulous?
I feel like I go through cycles. I think that there are times in my day and life that I'm like, thank you, I can receive that. I'm absorbing that. That's helping me. I'm grateful. And then there are times where I'm like, oh, like I don't even see what you're saying. And I'm sorry that you feel obligated to say that. Go into like the weird place, like, why would you say that? You know, this is a weird cycle. So I think I'm still nails, actually. The other
Hit or miss to give you a compliment, huh?
But mahalo for owning that, Puni. Mahalo
I,
for owning
I
that.
love
right?
that you can own that. That's magical.
I would agree. I would say I have like hot times and cool times where like I'm open. Like I mean, but it's the same with like love. Yeah, there's times where I'm open to love, and there's times where I'm like, I don't got time for that right now. I got other stuff. Yeah, because it can be all consuming sometimes. Yeah, so
Right. Maybe it depends on what the compliment asks of us. Right. So if someone says, oh my gosh, you know, your work on Aina or in education is just fabulous, the work you're doing. And you can go, mahalo, we've worked very hard at this. We've got a long way. You can kind of take it and give it to everyone. Easy. They didn't ask anything of you. Right. But there might be another kind of compliment where you actually have to sort of like take it. And so maybe that demands more of you because they're complimenting something about you that's hard or that you're not sure you're confident about or something. I don't know. You know?
Oh, that's a good one. Or it's also because you're like, not only because I don't know if I deserve the compliment, but also like, oh, that means this person is watching. And so now I gotta maintain. Oh, right. I gotta maintain what you just complimented me on. And I gotta like stay at that caliber all the time. And that's hard. Right. Like I always tell people, like, bro, losing weight is so easy. I can lose weight like the dickens. I can't maintain that weight. That's the problem, right? So it's the maintenance and the ongoing continued because that's I wonder if it could be that maybe for myself. I feel like
that's
that
a bigger ask to say I therefore feel like I gotta stay there
and always perform at that capacity or that caliber, and I might not have the capacity to do so.
Yeah. I met someone who any compliment, regardless if it was about their physical presence or we decided that all T's will remain unnamed. So
all T's will remain unnamed.
This person it's so beautiful to me because no matter what the compliment is, if it's about work, if it's about the community, if it's about her children, it's about her body, she says, I have nothing to do with that. My kupuna made me this way.
Aww.
You know, I have nothing to do with that. I didn't make my body. I didn't make my face. I didn't, all of the things that I've created with my hands, all of that was taught to be by my kupuna. So I accept and receive that with celebration. I agree, that it's quite phenomenal because it is the work of my ancestors. And so this, my aspiration is there. I understand conceptually where it might take us, where it might be valuable.
So that's one of those things, right? Is if someone says you're beautiful, right? I'm attracted to you. I wow, you float my boat. Sorry, you guys know me. That's you float my boat. To receive, right? It is to see that and to take that in. Is that to say, yeah, because the people that made me would want me to receive that because they made me. So am I supposed to like put in a little more effort to being like, thanks, they did good work. Yeah. Is that more of is that a thing? But then I don't know, that one feels harder. Yeah. When it's about the self, the shape, did I pick a good shirt today? Does this, whatever, I don't know. Yeah. Am I wearing my power earrings,
Yeah, I got some.
Yes, you do.
Well, what I would want for my daughters is that they feel that without the compliment.
Ooh.
Is that they feel that whether or not someone's saying that out loud. And that the compliment is received beautifully and gracefully, but that actually it's not where we might change our awareness of our body and our sexuality and our relationships to that kupuna era of like pre-mirror, pre-Zoom. I can like see you. I don't know, Leimomi made me see myself a lot here. But I think if we could take our minds back to a time when we were not so conscious of what the outside perception is of us, and we could be completely in ourselves. That's what I would want for my grandchildren, you know, for my kids, that that depth of aloha that you might feel from how you were formed, you know, and we were formed with such love through these like amazing stories of magic. And for me, my you know, my grandparents actually formed me, like formed my fingers to be this way, formed, I don't know why that was some choice, but formed my forehead to be a 5 head, because it was an indicator of intelligence. And so there was actual like physical forming even after conception, even after birth. And I think like, oh, I hope that my grandchildren, my kids, my children might feel that beyond a mirror, beyond the Instagram post, just feel it in your body.
Well, you said pre-mirror time, and I think that was one of those things where I go, okay, so isn't that something we aspire to, that you're caught up in the throes of a let's call it a loving moment or a sexual moment, and you're not going, how does it look right now when I do this? That you're so intent on the exchange or the experience that you're not wondering if it looks awkward, or because you're not awkward if you're not wondering or self-conscious. And in those moments, you get to be free of that, right? When you leave it all behind. Now, that's leaving out those that would love to capture a visual image of whatever they're doing at that moment, not that day. Because you check the lighting ahead of time.
Which
I don't mean
also
that.
fun.
Festive. You do you, lovey, and you know.
Right.
But on that regular day, that feeling when you leap in and you're so present in this moment, and the consciousness of you in that engagement, that what you look like is very, I don't know if it's irrelevant, but you're pretty sure it feels right. Can you feel me pushing us into the moment? I'm talking a little bit more about the exchange and the body, what the body does. You know, I don't know. There's something in that moment that frees us of the camera, of the judgment, of the like, do I look fat from the other angle? Who cares?
I hope I look fat in just the right way.
Absolutely.
I hope my fat is just like the sexiest fat that my partner has ever seen.
Absolutely. That it's giving all the feedback you need. Yes. I don't know.
But that, yeah. Oh my God. I totally love this conversation. I just reminded myself, or just like remembered, other people are with us. Like, so I was like, I was almost like, oh, but oh my gosh. Yeah. So all those were not all about kind of like, oh my gosh, what's that thing they say now? Ugly cry. Oh, I was full ugly cry. The kind like you're so into the experience of the kaumaha or the excitement of the whatever you were experiencing, and then you just like, Hanamada's coming down, get behind. So the ugly cry. And then also like I was talking with another unnamed Tita about how we had such warped ideas of what le'a and what orgasm looks like, because of what it's portrayed like in movies, and soap operas, and like it's like who looks like that, like what like right. Like where's the one where like
very composed,
like
you look very composed, you're not doing it right. Yeah. If you look serene in this area, that's not the jam. Sorry.
So that kind of mana'o, right? And how but that really is that's a whole ku'u, that's a and so not necessarily like lose control or lose yourself, but allow yourself to kind of go with that flow, whatever the flow is. Yeah, that's kind of way, yeah. But yeah, we were having that discussion about like we had such a weird understanding or misunderstanding of how you're supposed to look when you're engaging in those kind of fun activities. Because we didn't have those conversations necessarily. And I'm not saying like my elders and my Kūhine are prudes, but they're just like, okay, well, you know, they're more, well, my mom was more kind of, because she comes from a health background, right? A health field. She was very more from the scientific manao. is how I was taught about it. I was like, oh, okay.
I wonder if some of that of like, you're supposed to have a pretty face when you let go, if that's also, you know, that's the Frozen song, Let It Go. If you're supposed to have a pretty face, because there's also this thing about judgment by the partner. Are you supposed to, is there something about the pilina that makes there some pressure there? If it's like sort of newish, so it's not like long-lasting love kind, like been there 52 times, well-tread path, comfortable, safety love, but like the newish, awkward first fumble moment of feeling like, am I supposed to do this a certain way because there has to be something pleasing to the eye about is there a judgment? I don't know. Is there a judgment thing there? Can we bring the partner into this for a moment, or a partner or partners, whatever, somebody else in the room?
Yes. Yeah. It's important to bring the partners in. Although I guess I should disclaimer by saying that loving oneself in all the ways is super, super important. And so that's a really beautiful way to sort of recognize what your body feels like when there is no gaze, you know. And so my background is in art, and so the woman as the receiver of the gaze of the man is this very patriarchal and colonial structure, and you know, part of the activism of my work is letting go of that. But it's nice to love oneself, touch oneself, to know what does that even feel like. Give yourself a baseline. Know your baseline before you are in that forever relationship, at least. Right. But that being said, the new or the old, the many and the long relationships, they change every day, you know. We might think, we always, you know, I have young people who always have all this drama and want to talk about, you know, and I think there's a socialization that then then you marry the prince and then you drive off and then it's perfect. Your actually heartbreak starts then, you know, and true heartbreak, because you love so much. You will not have the ugly cry until you love with everything. And similarly, you will not have the ugly cry orgasm until you love with everything. And I think that's what really brings that connection to that highest level, you know, that are when we're able to let go of our egos, when we're able to feel completely held, when we're able to feel totally safe. And that might be the magic of someone that you met one moment in, you know, that they're your first engagement with someone who you've just met, or it might be over many, many years of building trust and relationship and time. But over time, your relationship and your body, relationship to your body, relationship to your partner, nobody really talks to you when you're young, that will change again and again and again. And you get to be you enter in it new. And your lovemaking is new again. And I think that's a blessing of what was it that you called it, ʻAukahi, this forever love or something?
Probably, I don't know. Yeah, sure, right. That if you have repeated chances to be part of a longer pilina, you get to live through that. I also think I'm in a longer pilina with myself right now.
That's right.
And so I think I'm easier to it's easier for me to be loved and open to love, and not just love, but also sex and physical, you know, sort of that stuff, because I know me longer. And I know what's going on there. And that means that I can, you know, you were talking about safety. And so the idea of vulnerability and openness seems really critical here too, when we're talking about, okay, we want our body to do this thing, right? Of like enjoy itself and do what it's built to do and be joyful and connect and intimacy. It seems like for us, there's more to it than that, than simply just a physiological function where you press the right couple of buttons in the correct sequence, like they did on that Friends episode. Remember where they're like 4, 2, 3, 4, 7, 6, 7, 8, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. Yay! Right? It's a little more to it than that. So I guess maybe let's talk about that, about kind of the where we are with the body and joy and sex and you know, it's not just physiology, I think.
It even I mean, because it really, and I don't know that we are have this conversation often enough, but if you are not the lawyer of you, right, like so I think like we gotta be okay with all the things that in order to ho'ea there and know what we want and know what we like and know what we don't like, and then be brave enough to explore. You gotta already know this and all the and align all the pico and all the you know, all of that stuff and all the pieces and parts that make up your whole as a kanaka. But if you're not the lawyer of you yet, right, then we still got some exploring to do, right, and some new stuff to learn about ourselves. And then also be okay with the fact that, yeah, what I liked as a 20-year-old is very different from what I like and want to experience as a 50-year-old Wahine, right? You know, like I don't know, like as a 20-year-old, I didn't like the slow and steady. No, that's my punele. You know, but like as a 20-year-old, I wanted it like super Vicky and just like boom, 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 pow. You know?
Sure. Yeah.
And yeah, so your taste change, your ono changes, your the way you want to pleasure others changes too. And so that's interesting, right? And then even
the routes into that. So
way of
does it
body.
start as sort of mental? Is it verbal? Is it
No,
is it movement?
absolutely.
Is it what brings you there? What senses are engaged?
Yeah.
Is it your soul that engaged this time? Is it?
I'm all about the whole papa. I'm all about if you're witty and you're wise ass, that's
Talk about the boat
and
starts floating.
yeah, as well a whole papa, yeah, papa olelo kawa. Let's bring it on, right? And to me, that's the foreplay.
Yeah.
Oop, I don't know if can I say that on this?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we have to. You have to
Okay,
say
mahalo.
that because otherwise people think that it's what was on the movie.
Say that who olelo kalamai.
That's a word from health class. It's okay.
Oh yeah.
But like that idea,
like that's part of the that's the rev of my engine. Like, oh,
yeah. Well, that's borne out that for women, arriving at really, you know, physical enjoyment usually engages the other parts of who we are, our minds, our souls, our emotions, our all that stuff. Puni.
Same, yeah. The shape of the mind is so important. And myself as an artist, if I see the creation of a certain shape, I know my partner's shape in any carved thing. I'm like, ooh, that's good. You know? And for me, that could be like foreplay for like 3 days from now. Who knows?
Totally.
You know, and so the complexity of the mind is such beautiful foreplay. The complexity of being able to, like, I know you can create abundance for our community and our land. Like, ooh, that is sexy. And I have to say that I've been a manipulator of the minds of my daughters. You know, I'm like, okay, look that boy's toes. See, he can feed you. Look at the shape of the bone. See the bone structure? That one can handle it. You know, and so like trying to like shape the honor of my own children. Maybe this is too inappropriate. I don't know. But I
feel like people have been making lists on napkins for years about what makes an ideal partner. They need to add bone structure, right on?
Totally. Totally. And so I'm thinking about like, this is what our lahui is built on. This is what our kupuna like thought about. And, you know, and so why not cultivate the ono of our children I mean, they definitely are having this inundation of visual stimuli from our oppressive nation that is not at all cultural. It's important for us to say, okay, this is Ono. See how his body looks. That means that he can work. That means he can feed you. See how his mind works. That means that he can take care of you, that he's going to be Ono for you 30 years from now, not just in this moment. You know, and I think, I don't know if I have actually, I'm so grateful to be invited to this conversation because I have no idea if other Wahine are having this conversation with their children, you know. And I remember my kids like dating someone I didn't approve of. And I'm like, what are you doing? Those are my grandchildren and you, this is not gonna work. You know, and everything is about that practice, but also you want that thing, those unions and that experience to be so Ono for your, you know, for your generations to come, you know, that it's going to be that lasting, you know, continual input of aloha and mo'opuna and so it's a different kind of Ono, you know. It's not just this physiological thing. It's this very generational thing that includes physiology, but that physiology is in service to an abundance that we're accountable to.
I love that idea of the
I feel like you just took me to church in such an awesome way. Like because kako piha kau I hapaiai, and then on top of that, there's all the other Ono, like what is my brain Ono for? What is my thinking processes? What are all three of my Pico Ono for? Right? And are you a potential partner, Kane, Wahine, or whatever age bracket? Are you someone that I can come into a relationship with? Even my titas, right? My friends. Are you someone I can come into a relationship with and it's going to be reciprocal, right? Or is it are you able to give and receive and ho'i and give, receive, ho'i, you know, or is it gonna just be me doing all the hanai, right? Like I feel like many times in a younger Lani girl, like attracted people who were more needy. And but then I also loved being needed. Yeah. Like, and then so as I'm
that meta needed you
into the 40-year-old Lani girl, and then now the 50-year-old Lani girl, it's I'm realizing that, oh, no, I need to be part of I cannot always serve Valeaku or you know, provide, like I want to be provided for, but in order to, then I got to be makokau to accept someone providing for me. Yeah, because that's my other issue. I'm always like, nope, I can do this, I don't need you, I'm good. Or like I'm always trying to be overly mana wahine. When really Hina needs Kū needs Hina, you know. And so how do I make space for Kū or Hina or whoever's coming by?
All the friends.
How do I make space for the kako? You know, and be vulnerable.
Yeah. No, I love what you're saying, because what you're saying, and if you cannot make space for it, then you cannot grow, you know. So we talked about Hina and Kū, and one thing, you know, I always like to think about Papa and Haumea, like this idea that if we are fertile, you know, in all the ways that we must continue to provide and serve and be productive and fruitful for our lahui, then we must be fertile and receive that input.
Yeah.
You know, and whether that's the compliment or the care or the nourishing and we had that era. So Lani girl, you said this thing like, you know, maybe I'm just gonna I could do it myself, and we definitely can do it ourselves. And I used to talk about this with, you know, women who are going through major transitions in their lives, with this sort of like head wagging thing, like we can do it ourselves, and, you know, if he shows up, great. But actually what's really powerful of what you were talking about, and I love for you to say more. Sorry, I might have over-talked to you. Is the vulnerability of being more receptive, the vulnerability of like appreciating that kokua, the vulnerability of receiving so that we can be abundant.
What, I love this. And in my mind, I'm going, and that's talking about sexual and physical interaction. That's talking about work and building the dream. And that's about producing food together. That's about raising children. You know what I mean? There's all these levels where that idea of, are you vulnerable and open to an exchange? Are you neck wagging saying I can? Am I open to receiving and giving? Those are things that happen in intimacy, physically, and they happen in spiritual intimacy and mental and intellectual intimacy. So they kind of like, you are having the same conversation on all these levels, and the naughty giggle in us can go there. And so can the fully evolved spiritual zone. We can hit it all the way, go celestial, you know what I mean? Or maybe that's the lowest. I don't know. Depends how you look at it. Profound, or, I don't know. I don't know which one is tiny bubbles and profound or celestial and giggles. I don't know. Anyway, it feels like you're talking on all the levels at once. Because it turns out that's how come we're fabulous, because it's all the same, like physical body, sex, orgasms, yay. Knowing and feeling very seen by someone who super gets you and thinks your mess is great. Same, yes, like that's same. I don't know, to me, Pilina, different kinds.
So
Go ahead.
That thing about the thing loves me in my messy, right? That idea, that's that same idea about like that ugly cry or the what do I really look like when I let go and when I I don't know, because I've never said, hold on, let me capture this moment, and I've never I don't know.
Challenge accepted. Just kidding.
but yeah, the loving the messy and helping me get my or giving me the time to get my right? Like that's always interesting. And then, yeah. Wow. Kalamai, I'm just thinking some non-sharing things I want to actually share at the moment because I want to process them. But
and that getting my
that idea about yeah, that idea that it's okay to be messy, because I feel like we're also of the same generation where it was always this like, be pull your hair back, cool my cutty, and, or all those kind of things, and cover this up and meow, and not that not doing those things aren't my cutty, but always about like Waiau,
yep.
And that how do we make space for or appreciating that the negative or the messy part has kuleana too, right? Like, because I feel like the messy part is when I get to rest a little bit, like, or I just like, and so I've been going so hard, so long, so right, noke, and then you just kind of like
unbutton the pants, take off the slippers.
Part, right,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you take some time to ho'omaha, and then you ho'omai ho or whatever, and you start to kind of nest a little bit, and then that's also part of that process of like clearing your mind, like okay, and then now I'm in a productive space again. But I had to let it get messy a little bit. I don't know. That's just my pattern, maybe. I don't know if that's
you just described
pattern of like the world, like everything in the whole world is that pattern. Like plants are that pattern, the world is that pattern, like soil health is that pattern. Like the only thing that is linear in one direction is a fake thing that will break eventually, is an extractive thing. And so if we allow ourselves and also teach our young ones that, yeah, you're going to have the messy moment and then you kind of clean up, or even like have compassion for ourselves. Yeah, we're going to have like the complete meltdown, panic attack, like what did you call it? Okay, like the nails response. We're going to have the nails response.
Yeah.
And then we'll recover.
We'll find our feet again and we'll holomua, we'll just, and informed differently by that. I like to tell people because I can be a mess and I make mistakes and I said the wrong thing or I hurt someone, I see with better eyes now. So the mess helps us see differently. Having been through that helps you see with better eyes. Okay, so the time is rapidly ticking, as I knew it would, sitting with the two of you. We can go and go. I guess what I would like to do is just like encourage those out there in the ether land of Zoom around your tables and spaces. If you guys have any questions for these wonderful women, do you want to put them out here or just a thought? Please feel free to throw it in there. Because we're here and we love to go about things you're thinking about too. Because you can imagine the debrief's going to be cherry.
I'm sure. And I'm thinking that even as questions are coming in, one thing that I'm thinking about, just knowing who's maybe tuned in or is talking stories or maybe listening with the hope of learning and growing, is that, what ililani had said when we first got in, we started, before this, we were sitting at a table talking stories. And I grew up with my mom and aunties talking stories and laughing. And I know that for my kids, it happens maybe a little bit less, maybe in a different format. And maybe in some families, in some houses, maybe it has a different shape. But any way to rekindle and reinforce whatever happens, where you're able to talk openly with sisters and brothers and family and friends in this way, that's, I guess, my hope. That I'm so grateful to have the open opportunity to talk with you, Lani girl, and Aukahi. And I hope that happens all across all of our Hawaiian families' homes. Yeah.
Mahalo. Any closing thoughts from you there, Lani?
We don't always have to meet on a webinar. We can. So I'm trying to think, when's the next one? When's the next Waiau session? Because I'm really appreciating these opportunities. Yeah. It's almost like book club. We'll just get together and some lullaby.
You just don't need a book.
Yeah. What's the latest Waiau session or opportunity to, share mo'olelo and share queries and questions and ideas and hopes and concerns and all that kind of stuff, because that's important. And I feel like I spend so much time with Opio, just in the nature of my kuleana and my career, and I maybe don't have enough opportunity for these kinds of pockets of conversation and launa and debriefing and that kind of stuff. And I do have this opportunity with many of my colleagues where it always starts off with work kuleana first, and then it takes a while before we get into the us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, but that's I'm reflecting now and thinking like, well, maybe the next step I should do is just invest more time in the people I work with on a daily, whether that's at home or at work or you titas over here online and the brothers too, if you're online as well, because you should definitely be having those conversations and those opportunities to identify who you can have those conversations with. I guess that would be poi. Yeah. Like building building connections and opportunities to kuka and wala'au, and it's sometimes going to be fun and sometimes it's not. And that's okay. And ask those hard questions about like, okay, to get to like this random, I don't know what's happening over here, but there's something over here, and oh my God, is that actually still considered my breast over here? Like that's part of the, like,
and yes is the answer. Yes.
Yeah, and yes is the answer.
Still have ducks way back there.
All the ducks over here, which is why every time when you're making the milk for baby, like, okay, it's all hard over there, but who knew, right? You know what I mean? I'm just like, I have a lump over here and I'm trying to figure it out. But then when I went to the doctor, it got written up as to check the breast. I'm like, I'm over here thinking this only over here. So all those new things.
Look at that information about the whole Nene.
Yeah, right.
Back to our title.
Way
So in general, as you get older, everything gets a little softer.
yeah,
Little softer, a little more gravity. If something gets harder, that's a seek attention. That's a get help, check it out thing. If it gets pehu, if it gets a little hard, check it out, because everything's supposed to just generally get a little softer. That's what's supposed to be happening. Okay, before I'm going to toss the ball back to you with my gratitude for this evening. Thank you so much.
Mahalo. I'm doing good because I'm like getting softer all over.
Perfect.
But I just want to say mahalo to each and every one of you. The comments were, what we know that these conversations are so needed, and that's reflected in the comments that, people are missing out on this. And I agree with Puni. When I was growing up, there were always tables of women, like they may have been playing cards or they were, cooking food, or they were having a drink, but there were always tables of women that, as young ones, you get taken around to everywhere and you learn from all of these. And I don't think that we have them enough. And so how do we create these tables to discuss? Because, we are Haumea, we're born Haumea, and we need to teach our daughters to maybe go through these transitions a little more gracefully than we have, because of all of the time and place that we were born in. And as we age and we gain the wisdom and we gain the beauty and we fight decolonization and we fight oppression and we embrace love and we embrace relationship, where's all the conversations for our daughters? And so thank you all for your openness. And people, you should be at our table, at our conversations. It's so much fun. So looking forward to the next one. The question I think that I'm going to leave with everybody is, how do we create the ono? Whether it's the ono for what we need for our wahine and what we need for our lahui. How do we create the ono? That is our homework as we leave. So mahalo everybody for joining us tonight. Again, we'd like to thank our sponsors that we have. I should know them all, but Hawaii. Oh, okay. Before we thank our sponsors, we're going to go back. Sorry, Lemaile, am I driving you a little crazy? Okay. Next month, March 16th is our next webinar. And what we're going to do is we are going to get ready for Haumea Chronicles. We are going to have some of the members from the first cast that was done 10 years ago. And then we're going to have some of the members from the new cast. And we're really going to talk about what this means to us, how it started, what the process is, what kind of things we're going to be talking about. So tune in on March 16th to get an idea of what's going on at Haumea Chronicles, to listen to the creative process, and to just get to know the members that are going to be out there. And then, like I said, the tickets for the actual Haumea Chronicles will be available in a day or two. March 26th, again, is Halepe'a. It's for our Wahine only. And March 27th will be Kauhale, that is open to all. Performances will be at 2 o'clock to about 4 o'clock. And then afterwards, there will be space for deeper conversations, joy and laughter, and to also really talk about anything that may have come up for you during the performance. So we encourage you all to look for the announcement that the tickets will be ready soon. We only have, I think, 250 seats for each performance. So you'll want to make sure that you're able to get your tickets. Again, thank you very much to our guests tonight. What a great conversation. I knew it was going to be. I didn't know where it was going to go, but I knew it was going to be a great conversation. Thank you for those that sponsor us. Hawaii People's Fund, Papa Ololo Kahi, Oiwi TV, Maili Kukahi, Roots and Ho'oluaina, University of Hawaii, and Ekolumea Nui. Again, let's think about, how do we create the ono? Mahalo everybody for joining us tonight. We look forward to seeing you next month and at Haumea Chronicles. Ahui ho.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Yay.
Cheers.
Friends.